Very excited to be joined now with the voice of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, Skylar Peters. Skylar, let's talk Selkirk Steelers. On paper, this team has lost some big pieces, but they're also bringing back some pretty sizable names as well. Take us through your overall thoughts of where the Steelers are at heading into this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of the losses, obviously it starts with the guy who is at the top of the list when it comes to scoring in the MJHL last year, Lucas Brennan. He's moved on to the USHL, also a Division I commit to Bemidji State. So, congratulations to him, first of all. Breakout season last year, 84 points, took advantage of his opportunity to play on a top line, and did he ever? I mean, that line was absolutely dynamic with Carter Cormier and Tyson Smith. Both of those players are in the the NHL together on the same team right now as well. So you've lost your top three scorers from last season, and you're looking for somebody to step up. I mean, for me, it starts with Matthew Catelier. We talked about Mike Svensson and Winkler a little bit earlier when we previewed their season. When I watch those two play, there's a difference in size for sure. Catelier is a little bit smaller than Svensson, but the game is very, very similar. I mean, this guy was approaching a point per game last season, and also had about 75, 80 penalty minutes. Not afraid to play rough, get into dirty areas. I expect him to kind of take charge of the offense for the Steelers this year. Finding those complementary pieces is kind of going to be the interesting part, I think, for them. They need that secondary scoring to come from somebody. A lot of younger pieces on this team as well. But I mean, Dave, this is a team that had just a putrid start to the 2022-23 season. I believe they were 0-11 or 0-12. Turned this around and really had a great second half, maybe the best in the EU East Division to finish off the year as well. So a lot of momentum building in Selkirk, I could feel, starting this year.
Yeah, and again, with the players you mentioned leaving, there's going to be increased roles. I think Matt Morera, he's going to step up this year. I really like the addition of Rhett Marchant last year. I thought that was a piece that's going to kind of haunt the Winkler Flyers for a couple of years after that trade. So there are pieces in place, but like you said, that start last year, they can simply not do that again. They put themselves in too big of a hole to the point it didn't matter how well they played, which, like you said, they played really well. So you got to expect that they're going to be ready to go right from the jump here Friday night against the Niverville Nighthawks.
Yeah, they get to start it with a big divisional game, and a Niverville team that probably took that playoff spot that Selkirk thought was earmarked for them at the start of last season as well. I mean, we can't speak enough about what a job Justin that the Nighthawks have done. It's just been unbelievable in their first season as well. They saw them ride that home crowd. It's an electric atmosphere. I think that's what Selkirk needs to do for themselves. And the guys that come back, the Moreras, the Cateliers, those kind of guys, Deshaun Friesen on defense, they know how it felt when they were 0-11, and they do not want to do it again. So I think the voices in the room will be pretty strong to get this team out of the gate. You know what? Even if they go 500, they go 6-5, 7-4 out of the gate. That's 6-7 wins better than they did last year. And it was still a team that challenged for a playoff spot in the second half of the season. So from the coaching staff to the vets, I think this is a team that knows they can't afford to get off to that bad of a start this season. And I don't think they will.
They have a couple of 20-year-olds on defense, but other than that, they're going to be on the younger side. They do have a number of guys that have MJHL experience. But again, how often do we talk about it coming down to defense and goaltending? Do the Steelers have enough between the pipes to get them to not only just battling for a playoff spot, but maybe even looking towards hosting a playoffs game at some point?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing. I believe Friesen is the only or one of two Selkirk Steelers defensemen to play two full regular seasons in the MJHL over the last couple of years. They got a lot of guys that spent last season with the Steelers, but that was their introduction to the MJHL, and maybe that was kind of explaining that slower start. A lot of guys that are just getting used to playing in this league. So I do think it's going to be a lot better for them out of the gate for sure. I picked up a 20-year-old goaltender from London, Ontario, who spent time in Minnesota high school hockey. I mean, that's a high level of puck. He's been playing against some good players for a couple of years already. So things are looking better on defense. I think that was kind of an issue for them. I mean, they had probably the most or second most dynamic line between that top line in Steinbach. But the Brennan, Cormier, and Smith line, last year really carried them through some games offensively for sure. It's not going to look like that for them this year. They're going to win a lot more low-scoring games if they are going to win a lot of games. So I expect Friesen to kind of lead this defense as well, and I think they're going to be a lot more improved in that area.
Selkirk's always been one of my favorite rinks to go to. I like how it's set up. I like it. The volunteers there are fantastic. They have such a passionate volunteer group, but they need fans, man. Like people need to get behind this team again. Is winning going to solve that? Is it a matter of changing a bit of the culture? I know they're going young. I think of a guy like Dawson Deer. He might have a great future as a Steeler. It's just, how do they get fans into the building? How do they get fans supporting this team? Because they have all the pieces, they have the rink. Now they need the people.
Yeah, last year was my first experience going up there for MJHL hockey, calling a Freeze road game earlier on in the season, and all the things you just said, completely true. You know, from the moment you walked in the door, everybody was just so welcoming to you. The volunteers, you know, people at the door, snacks were good. You know, the arena's nice. It's got a nice press box set up for us. It's got a great viewing experience for the regular fans. Yeah, and I do want to see a lot less green, a lot more people in those seats. You know, it's hard to say. I think in the MJHL, you get those cities that are close to Winnipeg, and there are a lot of options in terms of ways you can spend a Wednesday, a Friday, a Saturday evening. So I don't think it's as much as a lot of people think is the success on the ice. Certainly that's part of it. But I do think it's just trying to market to, those people. It's something that their city can take pride in, get behind for sure. I mean, the Selkirk Fishermen, another team in that city that's done pretty well over the years, and they get a good pull, right? So channeling some of that, I think, and just trying to find a sense of belonging and something to rally behind in this city. Winning's certainly going to help with that. I think this team is going to challenge for the fourth playoff spot, the third playoff spot in the MJHL. I'd be booking them in for one of the top four teams in the MGU East Division right now as it stands. So I think that is going to help a lot. And I think, this would be a great playoff atmosphere for sure if we get there for this team.